Now, welcome to the first episode of the Battle of the Heroes and Villains Welcome to the Show edition. And yes, this was directly inspired by Thor Skywalker's Battle of the Heroes and Villains series, to the point where I am doing an intentional reference to his manner of speaking and tendency to open every video with, "Now." For those of you who don't know, Thor Skywalker is an excellent YouTube channel discussing the Star Wars series. At a time when media discussion is criticized as being aggressive and vitriolic, Thor stands out for being welcoming, thoughtful, and patient, explaining his viewpoint without ever feeling like he's attacking people for thinking differently, even though some of his thumbnails look really clickbaity. Seriously, the tone of these thumbnails and the actual tone of his videos are like night and day. Anyway, one long-running series of his is the Battle of the Heroes and Villains series, where fans vote to score a Star Wars hero or villain, and Thor ranks them against each other to find out who the most memorable and beloved Star Wars characters really are. We will be taking this formula and applying it to the actual play D&D campaign Welcome to the Show, or Brony D&D as it's somewhat misleadingly called here on YouTube. Today, we'll be starting with Amber Hawthorne, and joining me are my two co-hosts Lala Melody and William Beasley, who run the Welcome to the Show Discord server.
Hello, this is William Beasley. I did a lot of fan videos for Welcome to the Show when it was airing, and yeah, like I said, like Shay just said, I made the my Welcome Show Discord server, and I run it.
Hello, I am Lala Melody. I am one of the mods of the aforementioned Welcome to the Show server. I do covers, voice impressions, memes, lots of memes. And, yeah, the William Dork is my boyfriend, so.
And we're very happy for you. So, we polled the Brony D&D Discord server to see how they scored Amber, and as you can see in the poll we put up, 73.8% of voters scored her an A, 23.8% of voters scored her a B, 0% scored her C, 2.4% scored her a D, and no one really considered her bad enough to be an F tier character, which, when you put it all together, gives her a final score of 4.69, which is respectably in the A rank, and we're off to a good start. Fans also commented their thoughts and feelings on Amber, and we will be reading those comments now, starting with the first one by Dominus.
I chose A because Amber is my favorite character, with her being a dragon, wanting to do what's right, and awesome theme song. Yeah, I mean, Amber's not my personal favorite, but she is easily within my top 10 characters. And I recently listed out in a script I'm writing my top 25, and I'm trying to remember if she's in the top 5 or not. I definitely know that she was in the top 5 last time I did my top 10, last time I ranked the characters, and for great reason. Amber is, like you said, she has like an awesome theme song, and being a dragon is just like automatic cool points because, I mean, who doesn't want to be a dragon? It's like literally the most iconic mythical creature there is, and I can see why Dominus would have a draw to a character that embodies such an iconic creature.
She's certainly one of the most unique, and she's the kind of character that just immediately stands out in the limelight. In D&D, there's often a pushback against characters creating what are considered, quote, special snowflake characters, unquote, because they're often seen as a vessel for a player's ego, making a character that immediately stands out. But when done sincerely, when there is merit in creating characters that do stand out, characters that are unique, and basically it's not always a bad thing to be a special snowflake. Now we've got a comment from DragonMaster77.
I voted B because I love Amber and she is a great character, but there were moments that irked me in a bit in the long run.
And certainly it seems like it's going to be a common thread, with Amber being well-liked for the most part, but having moments that can be frustrating to viewers, and admittedly even frustrating to characters.
Yeah, especially in the very beginning of season 4 when she was essentially blaming herself for everything that went wrong in Bator. And she did eventually come out of it, and it was great to see her come out of it, but it did kind of feel like a bit of a slog to get through with sulky Amber until we finally got to that part. As great as the moment of her getting out of that slump was, it kind of felt like the slump itself was not as entertaining as it could have been, I feel.
There was also a lot of her attitude in season 3. While her distrust was ultimately proven to be validated, there was also a lot of right for the wrong reasons, and she certainly did not go about presenting her problems in the most appropriate way. For example, clamming up and throwing a tantrum instead of calmly and clearly explaining to everyone, hey, this is a bad idea, here are my reasons.
And the thing with Amber, too, is that she's definitely been one of the characters that has been more so acting as a result of the player's growth in regards to the game itself. Because it's like Amber's growth as a character has been directly tied to Lightning Bliss's growth as a player. Because in season 1, Amber was very unsure of herself because Bliss was very unsure of herself, new to the game. And by the time season 4 comes around and we finally see her come into her own and stuff, that's that experience finally coming to fruition and growing and creating this moment not just for the player but also for the character that she has been playing for years.
Indeed. And there was definitely was good showing on Bliss's part to be able to tie the growth of herself as a player to the growth of a character in contrast to another character we will sadly be getting into later. She was able to take her flaws and frustrations with her character not being the way she originally wanted to be, and bringing that out into an in-character flaw that Amber had to work through. So, next we have a comment from Misty Phantom, who writes, A, because Amber is one of the most morally driven characters in the group, and I can respect that. Yes, probably one of, if not the most passionately steadfast in her beliefs. She is the one character, more than perhaps anyone, to stand up and say, no, this is wrong, I'm fighting against it.
I do agree with that Amber is very morally driven. Her goals are always 100% in line with her sense of right and wrong, what she believes is like should happen in terms of morality, which is best example I can come up with is her desire to put an end to Simula. Simula has caused so much hardship and death and suffering for so many people in Alatasca that Amber cannot see sees that her letting Simula live will only lead to more of that, and so she is on a mission throughout most of season 3 to try and figure out a way to kill Simula, even though Faye is on a mission to try and save Simula. I voted A because she has good growth as a character. She began both trusting and distrusting, and staying mostly in her human form. As time went, she began to stay more in her dragon form, and formed a close bond that bloomed into a very sweet relationship between her and Ivan. In Hell, or before that, I did feel a bit annoyed by some actions, but it didn't feel too out of character for a young dragon learning and growing. Like most, I liked her development, and how she, even when she wanted to kill, kept her morals.
I voted A out of pure instinct because it's what all the player characters deserve, TBH.
Then Riser S writes, My reason isn't much, but I felt she was the most developed out of the cast.
Next, the Luna Corver writes, I voted A because Amber is probably the most dynamic character in the entire series. From seasons 1 to 4, we see her grow from a shy, insecure child to a courageous badass, to a self-righteous, hate-filled reactionary, to finally putting all the pieces together as the noble knight in dragon scales.
William Momo writes, Amber was one of, if not the most developed character in the show, and a very natural character progression, and is also one of the most entertaining characters to watch participate in combat. A.
Son of Heaven writes, I voted B because even though Amber is a good character, sometimes he is a bit too headstrong. There are better heroes in my opinion, and Doran Stroud seems to very much agree with this and echo the sentiment.
I chose Amber mostly because she is a dragon, and the fact that Lightning Bliss's super form is a dragon after all. Best dragon, I would say A. I'm guessing the Bliss super form is referring to TF2.
Most likely, yes.
Mm-hmm. Magical Dude says, I voted A because Amber is really, really cool, and she's a hybrid dragon, which is extra amazing. Also, she goes through a lot of growth throughout the story, and at this point, I'm preaching to the choir.
Noid Brightclaw writes, I personally give Amber a B. I like her character and interactions. The arc that she went through is quite admirable. However, I also have to take her combat capabilities into view. While, yes, she does have some nice combat abilities, she unfortunately hasn't always been the best when it comes to fighting people. That doesn't mean she hasn't had some really good ideas every now and again, but you can't ignore the times where she messed up.
From Wicked Cat, I voted B for Amber. While I like her growth from the beginning of this adventure to now in the end to her becoming a diamond dragon, it was thrilling to watch, I also like the fact that even though she is the oldest in the group, she is the youngest mentally. Unfortunately, that's what made me put her into B instead of an A. Sometimes her stubbornness and her attitude got on my nerves, especially at the beginning of Season 4.
Ace of Flames writes, gave her an A for her excellent character arc and her epic moments in battles. Her weaker moments didn't bother me as much, because to me, they totally made sense with her character.
Third Sector writes, I voted A because from what I've seen in the show, she has a good heart. I also found her protective nature endearing.
I would give Amber an A grade. She is such a rich character with believable development that changed as her environment changed, and she learned valuable lessons. The dragon she is by the end of the series is one that both of her fathers can be proud of.
And when we put this all together and look at the common themes, it seems that the general consensus of Amber is that she is one of the most passionate, exciting, very much interesting in concept, and well-developed characters in the series, but what holds her back from, in a lot of people's eyes, is that much of her headstrong attitude could be rather off-putting to people. Now, while flaws can certainly make a character interesting, there can be certain presentations of them that shift from being endearing or interesting to making a character hard to really get behind or even watch and enjoy. Though, considering that she still scored a very, very respectable 4.69, I'd say she's still one of the top tier characters in Welcome to the Show.
I have to agree. The things that people said that were kind of like on the more on the negative side were simply that because of her low maturity due to her being a very young dragon, that she had tendencies that were sometimes not the most pleasant to watch, but they weren't the majority of her character. The vast majority of her character seemed to be something that the growth that she went through that people really seem to enjoy. And I feel like a lot of season 2 is Amber is the backbone of the story for a good amount of season 2. And so the story really would not be able to be the same without her. And I feel like that alone should constitute her as top tier.
Absolutely.
I most certainly agree.
My thing with Amber is that she is not only one of the greatest characters in the show simply just because of her role in the story, but also just because of her dynamics with the other characters, and how her relationships with the other characters are an impact on the story to such a level. Which is why I think at the beginning of season 4, it was so nice to see her and Jalaram interact a little bit more, because they hadn't really interacted as much as the other members of the Heroes of Geminia. And so with that dynamic, it allowed her to have an aspect of developing with characters to a new level, and really gave her a unique moment with a member of the party that she hadn't quite necessarily had the same level of interaction with than, say, people like Faith Thurin or Ivan. And plus, not to mention her, Geminia having to sacrifice herself for Amber was a huge plot point, and that really impacted Amber and the way she views her relationships with the other members of the party.
And it is interesting to see not only how her relationships and interactions with everyone in the party are unique and different, but how strongly she interacts with them. I don't think there is even a single relationship or character interaction with Amber that doesn't have meaning in some way. Even with Jalaram, the one she interacted directly with least, the one time they did interact was a very powerful moment. So, in all summary, Amber is a brilliant character who shines brightly and expresses herself loudly in almost every way, making her one of the most memorable, if occasionally frustrating characters. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and next week we'll be seeing the results as we poll the fans to find out how they would rank Jalaram and Leo.
Ooh.
Have a pleasant evening, everyone.